straight into it. I'm not going to do an intro video or anything like that.
All right.
And we are live, 3 seconds live. Welcome, Zuplexcity. Oh, let me hide the graphic because we're not talking about that yet. What is going on, man? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, brother.
Well, let me know what you did for your holiday plans, your holiday festivities while I fix the graphic.
I had a very boring yet satisfying New Year's. I sat at home, played some video games, watched the ball drop, drank a scotch, went out, smoked a cigar, ate some dumplings. Like, it was a solid New Year in my book. I don't know.
That sounds good to me. We actually had, for Christmas, we had a bunch of plans, right? All the kids and the cousins getting together. But for New Year's, our daughter got sick, a little ear infection, so we were basically home as well. And I basically polished off as many bottles of wine as I could. And we watched some movies, man. I caught up on a lot of shit this New Year's celebration.
Nice. Side note, I know I probably should have asked you this before we started, but have you been watching Willow?
I have not, but I know it's almost done. So I'm gonna have to do. We're gonna do a deep dive on Willow when that's done. So I'm gonna have to do a binge watch of that show. I keep forgetting it's even out, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, they're not doing a lot of promotion for it, but it's been really good.
They're not doing a lot of promotion for it. I wonder why that is.
Weird. It's really weird because it's actually a really solid show. You know what else is on there that dropped that I started watching is the National Treasure show.
That came out already? I didn't even notice that.
There's 6 episodes in.
There's 6 episodes in? Get the dropping the ball, man. Dropping. I know.
And I will say that is not as good.
Oh, well, you know, I like the National Treasure. I know Scythe will kind of kill me for this, but they're not the greatest movies ever. He's a big fan of those.
Yeah, he's a huge fan.
So I'm not as excited for the show, but I mean, it's something I'll watch. I'm very surprised that
watch it, but it's not like, I don't know. It's very slow.
Yeah,
it's very slow.
I'm just gonna get the link out here for our little podcast. Get some people into the chat.
Willow is definitely worth your time.
I'm absolutely gonna watch Willow. I mean, Willow was something I watched as a kid that I fell in love with. You know, I watched it over and over again, so I'm super excited for Willow. I just figured, I missed the first few weeks. I think there were some other things out that I was kind of more into.
And then with the holidays and everything.
Yeah. So then I kind of felt like, you know what? They're a half-hour show, right? It's not a long episode, so I'll just wait till it comes out.
So it fluctuates from like a half hour to almost like a full hour. Some episodes.
Really? But see, I like that though when shows do that because that means they're telling the story the way they want to tell the story, and they're not trying to force things in there.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing, and it flows really, really nicely. It definitely flows really nicely. Not a lot of dead spots. Like, it's hitting all the points you want it to hit.
I'm just putting the link out there on the Facebook. If you haven't joined the Facebook, please do so. And we're going to get into it in about 2 seconds here.
While Chris is doing that, let me tell you what we have going on GGEN here. Trivia round 2 is starting with the Quizzer of Oz himself. He unfortunately came down with COVID and the flu, so that's delayed that a little bit. But we're going to be getting those episodes out to you soon. I know I filmed mine the other night, and it's a banger episode, if I do say so.
I'm excited for round 2. I unfortunately lost in round 1 pretty poorly. So
I was holding it down for all the GGEN moderators in round 2 because Fred also got knocked out.
You're the only one left, man. You're the only one left.
I'm the only one left. Then we also have streaming going on almost every night at this point on our Twitch channel. Make sure you guys subscribe over there.
Yeah, I mean, we're firing on all cylinders on Twitch. Definitely join us.
More reactions coming. I don't even know what reactions Fred is up to at this point. Chris Steve, Harry Mack.
We got Tom McDonald. We got Harry Mack. I might add Beardy Man just because listening to him again with Harry Mack on the last video was invigorating, to say the least. Mark Rebier, it would be a good one to react to. We have a lot of recommendations that we're throwing our way on people we should react to. So we're just going to keep coming with those reactions.
I think recos are the way to go. Let the fans tell you who they want to see,
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I might jump in on some reactions with you guys, too.
You should.
I feel like
I know there's some wrestling reactions on the way. Some various wrestling tidbits. We have
Yes.
not lost the
Oversell.
Transformers, so we're going to be doing that. The Oversell podcast, best wrestling podcast in the nation.
In the world.
In the world. Excuse me, I've undersold it.
We upgraded last podcast to the world.
I've undersold it, people. I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keylist episode 2 coming this week. End of this week.
Keylist. This Keylist is going to come out Thursday, actually, so keep an eye on that. If you're a comic fan, if you're looking to get into comic collecting, comic selling, Zuplex here is our resident comic book guru, and he's throwing out a lot of just good suggestions and recommendations for you. Kind of, I like the whole premise, right? You're just kind of like not holding the hand, but you're just helping people kind of ease them into the world of comics, and that's awesome.
Just explaining it and kind of giving you some recos on some stuff that I think is going to pop at some point, and you make a little money on. I always say, you'll hear me say it a million times: just collect what you like. But to collect what you like, sometimes you got to buy some stuff that you get money on.
Hey man, it's like any other hobby, right? You got to put money down to really make it a hobby, but you also want to keep it fun. So we got a lot going on. I think MVP comes back this weekend. That's the Multiversal podcast hosted by ScytheX. He goes over the video game world, quick tidbits and news updates on the entertainment world, and then here. Theater Room. We're on episode 69. It looks like this year we're going to hit episode 100. Dude. I really should plan something big for episode 100. But for anyone who's new to this podcast, Theater Room, we like to do more deep dives, more kind of detailed reviews, and every now and then we throw in a themed episode. Case in point, Avatar 2, The Way of Water came out, and we're going to get into that one real quick, but we're going to be spoiling it for you. For you guys are lucky because in this particular podcast, we waited a few weeks, so people had time to see it. But generally, we don't avoid spoilers here because we want to have real conversations about it. But before I do, we got to talk about Hawkeye real quick. Have you heard the news? Our beloved Hawkeye in the hospital. He's okay now. He's going to survive. I don't know if he's going to be Hawkeye anymore. But the guy got run over by a snowplow.
Yeah, it's wild what happened to him. Said he lost a lot of blood in his leg. Thank God his neighbor's a doctor and was able to apply a tourniquet and get him immediate help, which was probably saved his life.
Absolutely, man.
It's a big hit. He's such a great actor. I really do love him in everything he does. Like, even in that stupid movie Tag, he's amazing.
He's great in that movie, though. He steals the show.
Oh, he absolutely steals the show. I don't know if you watched Mayor of Kingstown.
I have not watched that.
Paramount. I'll recommend that to anybody.
Really?
I just watched it. I just watched the first season recently. I saw the second season was coming out, so I was like, "Oh, let me give this a try." Oh, amazing! That's absolutely amazing.
I mean,
it's what Ray Donovan should have been.
Oh, really? See, I didn't know that. The trailer doesn't really sell it like that, so I never really actually realized how similar to Ray Donovan it might be.
He plays like a fixer, but he works between they live in this town that's basically got one of the largest prisons in it also. Okay. So everybody kind of works at the prison or is involved in the prison somehow. So he's like an intermediary between a fixer between the gangs, the cops, and the prison guards.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to maybe check that out, add that to the list because we got so much stuff that we're, every single week there's something else coming out that I want to watch. Speaking of just life or death situations with our man Hawkeye, let me just get the name of the football player down. Did you see what happened in the NFL?
Oh, wild. Absolutely wild.
One of the craziest things I've ever seen, I'm going to say his name wrong, Damar Hamlin, went into cardiac arrest after taking a hit to the chest. For anyone who doesn't really watch football or keep up with sports or like that, he basically passed out or essentially died on field, and they resuscitated him, got him to a hospital. And from what I read, he died a second time, and they resuscitated him. And, no one knows exactly how it happened, but he's 24 years old, just a kid, It's
he's having problems
stuff.
Breathing. They put him in an induced coma, have him on a breathing tube. Really, really, really unfortunate freak accident that happened. The hit, the hit didn't look like it was a crazy.
It never does. The worst injuries never look that bad.
Went back down, and then it was just over. It's a tragedy that happened. Hopefully, he pulls through. Everybody's praying for him. You don't ever want to see something like that happen.
Yeah,
ever.
no, he's a young kid, and I think I heard it on one of the analysts was talking about it over and over again, and that there's like kind of one rule, and just in sports in general, right? There's just leave it on the field, you go home to your families, and it's over. And for something like this to happen in the middle of the game, it was just scary stuff to see. I don't remember if I've ever seen an ambulance on the field like that. The entire team taking a knee and praying for him. It's just scary, scary stuff. So
last time I saw an ambulance on the field like that was when Andy Dalton shattered his leg.
Yeah. And
Like,
this was like it was nothing. He took a hit to the chest. He fell down. He got up and then just wobbled and fell back again. So scary stuff. But we want to keep him in our thoughts, and hopefully he pulls through no problem. But we can move on from the sappy stuff because I don't want to bog it all down. Let's start with, we got a few movies that came out, kind of big releases in my opinion. Let's start with Bullet Train, which for me, I'll just throw my opinion out there, was one of the surprise releases of 2022, meaning I didn't expect it to be good, and I friggin' loved it. I thought it was so entertaining from beginning to end. Did you get to watch the movie?
Yeah, I watched it a while ago when it first came out, and then I know it just hit Netflix. So everybody's like kind of jumping on the bullet train, if you will.
Yeah. But see what he did there.
But I will say that it was definitely a surprise. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. Aaron Taylor Johnson, and I don't know the actor's name that plays
Tyree Henry, I think his name is, something like that. Yeah.
They're like, they steal the whole movie.
Absolutely. I want to see a movie about just the two of them.
Yeah. Like I wanted like a prequel with just the two of them, doing lemon and tangerine stuff. Like,
absolutely. I want to. It's funny. So they're the type of pair in a movie that should get a show, kind of like a prequel TV show where you just see them on their adventures together. It would have to be, just from the nature of the movie, it would have to be HBO or Showtime or one of those where they can get away with some violence. For anyone who hasn't watched the movie, it's essentially about Brad Pitt plays a bounty hunter or a mercenary or whatever you want to call him, assassin, who is kind of coming out of retirement, and he's doing so in a way where he doesn't want to kill anybody. So he doesn't want to use guns. He wants kind of easier jobs. He wants to ease his way back in. And his first job back, he's replacing another hitman on a bullet train that happens to have more hitmen than he could count, and then it kind of goes from there. It's kind of like an action comedy. I feel like everyone's firing all cylinders the whole movie. I was into it from beginning to end. I will say, because nothing's perfect, and I got to complain about something. The one thing that I kind of wanted more of was the hand-to-hand fight scenes.
Yeah, it was lacking a little bit in that.
Yeah.
They could have done
the creators of John Wick, so I was expecting some amazing fight scenes. And while the fight scenes are good, it's a little more chaotic, I guess, than the John Wick movies.
Now let me ask you something, because we've now had the creators of John Wick make a bunch of different movies in the same vein.
Yes.
Is this the part of the John Wick universe? Because like Atomic Blonde was the makers of John Wick.
Right.
Mr. Nobody was the makers of John Wick.
Right.
This Bullet Train was the makers of John Wick. All four John Wicks are the makers of John Wick.
And they're all about assassins, basically, or mercenaries.
They're
or
all
whatever.
basically about assassins and this like assassin underworld that they've built. We know that they're getting the show The Continental. So is this? But the thing that I that screws it up for me is they're all owned by different studios.
Right, and that's, I think, a mistake, because honestly, the one thing, so the arguably the thing that made John Wick so popular when it came out wasn't Keanu Reeves. The fight scenes were a part of it, but the main reason why is people were interested in the world that was being built in that first movie. Everyone wanted to know more about the hotel, the Continental. Mm-hmm. Everyone wanted to know more about just the rules and how, like, the gold coins and the phone calls and this respect they had for John Wick and whatever. Yeah. And they've done a great job building that out over 3 movies and now a 4th one on the way. I feel like with the other movies you mentioned, Mr. Nobody, with Atomic Blonde, with this movie, same thing applies. The action is good, but what I'm more interested in is these worlds that they keep kind of showing us, and just this like layer of just nastiness under our world, So I feel like the big mistake they made was not just surprising us with a random cameo to tie all these movies together. And basically say it's one big world. They could have done a shared universe better than DC's been trying to do for the last decade.
This is a shared universe that I want to see.
Yes,
like
100%.
You know, honestly, like a shared universe of a bunch of different stories about a bunch of different assassins from different parts of the world and everything like that. Like, I'll dive into that any day of the week. You know what I mean?
It's the kind of shared universe I think we're all asking for, and we just haven't gotten yet. So
and it doesn't feel forced. Like it feels like a shared universe that's not forced down our throats. Like, oh, this is a shared universe.
Yes. One day someone's gonna hear us on one of our podcasts, and they're gonna go, "These guys know what they're talking about." And then we're gonna get a call, and they're gonna be like, "Do you guys want to be the showrunners of like some property?" And we're gonna do it. We're gonna absolutely dominate it. I'm telling you. I'm absolutely telling you. But yeah, so Bullet Train. What'd you say?
Give us a shout.
Yeah,
Send us a DM.
Come on, Hollywood. We're waiting for it. We are waiting for it. Trust me. We're willing to play ball. We will work with you, and I guarantee success. Damn it.
We'll work for cheap.
Yeah, I'll work for booze, rum. By the way, cheers, man. Happy New Year, 2023. We had a big 2022. Not to get off the rails here. 2023 is going to be even bigger. Let's go.
Absolutely.
So, I give Bullet Train. If we're doing a rating out of 10, I'd give it like an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm about like an 8.3.
Yeah,
there.
That sounds right.
Like you said, like you're right. Like the fight scenes could have been a little bit more. I guess they could have had more of them. They could have been a little bit more cleaner, a little more fighting actually happening in them. Because a lot of times it's just like somebody smacking somebody in the head with something.
Right, and I guess it's part of the humor, right? They're fighting on a bullet train, so it's moving very fast.
Yeah,
stopping and going, and they're trying to avoid being caught like with doing these like brutal fights. So that's part of the humor. The scene with Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brad Pitt in the I guess the kitchen car, when like they're in the middle of just beating the fuck out of each other, and then the stewardess comes in or whatever you call them, and she's like, "You guys need some water?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, no, why not?" And Aaron Taylor Johnson's like annoyed, like, "Come on, dude." Like, I'm sitting here, we're trying to, like, he didn't have the money. Brad Pitt didn't have the money. He's like, "Can you spot me?" In the middle of them fighting, like, it's so good, so good.
I will say too, like, I know we want to move on real quick, but the fact that they had the names lemon and lime, and they decided to go with lemon and tangerine, are amazing to me.
What's great though is that this is how good Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry is that their characters' names were lemon and tangerine, and they were the most badass people in the entire movie.
Yeah,
like, they were just so good. And just for the record here, Tangerine's Brian Tyree Henry, was he tangerine or lemon?
I don't
remember. But one of them, their whole shtick is that they grew up watching Thomas the Train, and they use that as a basis for determining if you're a good guy or a bad guy in their life. And again, as dumb as that sounds, it's amazing in the movie. It's just done so well. Really done so well. So definitely go see it. It's on Netflix. So, everybody has Netflix basically. If you don't have it, you know somebody who has it. It's worth watching. If you like action flicks, you want like an action comedy, 100% worth watching. Bullet Train on Netflix. So now we're going to jump over to, before we get into the big dog here, I want to talk about Glass Onion. That was the other big release this weekend. This is the sequel to Knives Out, which I know Ryan Johnson does not like the fact that they had to call it Glass Onion, a Knives Out movie or tale or whatever they end up calling it.
Yeah, it seemed a bit wordy.
You don't have to see Knives Out to see this one. And again, another good release in December and another phenomenal movie. I loved it from beginning to end.
Really?
What did you think? You don't like it?
Nah, it was a miss for me. Like,
you gotta explain. You gotta explain, because I thought it was freaking fantastic.
So I think it was just because Knives Out was so good. I love Knives Out, and they kind of tried to do the same thing with like this eclectic cast, but like the main point of the movie, I felt the entire time, which was, oh, this guy's really dumb.
They weren't.
Which was, I get that was the point of the movie, but like I wanted a smart.
I feel like they weren't hiding that from us.
Thriller. I understand they weren't hiding it from us, but I feel like I wanted more from it, I guess, is the problem.
Okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. But you have to keep in mind, so Ryan Johnson's whole thing, he's the guy that Star Wars fans generally hate because of Last Jedi.
Yes.
His whole thing is he wants to subvert expectations. So he gave us Knives Out, where Benoit Blanc was the Sherlock Holmes character, the guy from Murder at the Orient Express, that detective.
Mhm.
Benoit Blanc is just another in a long line of detectives, but he was the smartest guy in the room, and he's solving the mystery and whatever. He wants to subvert expectations, right? So for me, I love the fact that in this one, it was obvious to basically everybody how dumb Edward Norton's character was.
Yeah.
And yet Benoit Blanc couldn't solve the case because he's overthinking it. He wanted it to be this high-end, super intelligent case,
No,
and it's just so stupid.
Almost immediately.
Well, he solved the murder mystery game, but not the actual murder mystery.
No. What I'm saying is like he knew going into the island like what was going on because he just needed the proof. Like he knew who killed him.
That's true, I guess.
Like he solved it off the rip.
Yeah, but he had
Like,
his whole motivation about he had his whole speech about how he couldn't figure out the motivation, and then when it finally hit him, it was just so stupid that he just overlooked it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that part. Yeah, but like, I think that was the problem for me though. Is that like once they did the turn where they were like, "Oh, this is her sister,"
yeah,
and showed you the whole backstory, I was like, "Oh man,"
that was cool. See, I loved it. I love the idea of so the movie's called Glass Onion, right? And they talk about how in a glass onion you could see the center from the outside, but you still have to peel those layers. There's still a complication in order to get there, regardless of how clear it is to you. And I love the idea of us seeing the second half of the movie is peeling back layers of the first half of the movie, and we're seeing the perspective of the sister and what she was doing and how like different moments had completely different meanings. Like, for example, when Dave Bautista says to Edward Norton, like, "Oh, remember when you almost pancaked me in your car or whatever?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, when I was at such and such place." And when you first see it, it's like a joke, like, you know, just like they think it's a funny moment. And then the second time you watch that scene, you realize that Edward Norton is quickly trying to shut him up because he doesn't want to give away where he was, you know. I thought it was really well done in that respect. You know what I mean? Everything, seeing the whole movie a second time from that perspective to me was very entertaining and very just kind of like funny and intense.
As far as the movie's concerned, it's entertaining because all the actors, I'll say this, all the actors did a phenomenal job.
Oh, they bring their A game. They're all fun. You can just tell.
Like, yeah, they're all having fun with it. Like, it's a great job by all the actors. This was more of a story and like perspective layout for me that I didn't like because when you get into it, it's just like I think I just wanted more from it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I can't. I'm not going to sway your opinion. I loved it. Yeah. I thought everyone was good. Like I said, I agree with you. Every actor brought their A game.
Oh, absolutely.
I enjoyed the way the story was told to us and just kind of, you know, drip fed to us for a moment, and then all of a sudden we just got all the information, and yet we were still like ahead of our main characters essentially. Dave Bautista for me was a standout. Kate Hudson was a standout. They just were entertaining as hell.
Great.
Yeah,
Batista was great.
You know, and then there's a lot of
everything he does, man. I just rewatched Guardians Christmas special on Christmas. I love this guy so much.
Well, they talk. I've been reading. Just speaking of Batista in particular, I've been reading a lot more the conversation of who's the better actor as a wrestler, John Cena, The Rock, or Batista. And Batista wins that argument every single time, and I think it's 100% true.
I got to see more from Cena, but. Like Cena might wind up being the better actor in the end.
See, I think Cena and The Rock very much can handle a specific style of acting. Yeah. That kind of quippy, funny. You know, they can handle the emotional parts. I think Cena can handle the emotional parts better than The Rock, but they both can handle them enough where it gets by, but the majority of the movie needs to be the comedy. Whereas Batista can do all comedy, as we see in Guardians of the Galaxy. He can do kind of serious shit like you see in Blade Runner and you see in you also see some of it in Guardians, but you see it in Blade Runner and fucking what's the other movie? I can't think of it now. Oh, Bond, Skyfall. And then, but he can also play like a caricature, which you see here. And in this movie, he's not meant to be like funny in the sense that like you're supposed to be gut busting laughing, but he's meant to be not taken seriously because he thinks he's so cool and he's really not. You know what I mean? And he pulls it off well. Every character he does, he pulls off well. You know,
he's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Really, really good. And you got to give credit to Edward Norton, too, because the guy can play a villain. Any movie that he's appeared as the bad guy, he does a phenomenal job. You just want to punch him in the face more than anybody else on screen.
I do enjoy Edward Norton. Like I said, like all the actors, this was a very, very well acted show, a movie. Everybody did a phenomenal job. I love, what's his face? James Bond.
Daniel Craig.
Benoit
Blanc.
It was Benoit Blanc. I love him as Benoit Blanc. I like the accent, the like over the top, like kind of like draw that he does and everything like that. Like he's so good, man. So good.
One thing you can tell, this is a good movie. If you ever hear the phrase of you want the actor, you can tell the actors are having fun while they're acting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a good example of that because you can really see that everyone is just having a ball. And one thing I do want to say was kind of the showstopper for me was in the middle of the movie, not the middle, more like the beginning, first quarter of the movie, Ethan Hawke shows up in a random cameo.
For no reason.
So basically, the premise of the movie is, besides Daniel Craig's character, for anyone who hasn't watched it yet, every other character is invited to Edward Norton's private island for a murder mystery game. It's like an outing they do once a year, and this year he chose a murder mystery. They show up at the dock where they're going to get picked up to get brought to the island, and each one of them is a different type of mask on because of COVID. You have the scientist with the N95 mask who's keeping his distance. You have the fashion star with the mesh mask that basically is more of like a veil, not a mask.
Yeah.
Then you have like Dave Bautista's macho guy who just doesn't have a mask on because to him COVID probably doesn't exist and whatnot. And then you have Ethan Hawke show up in a car on this dock. He walks out. He tells them, take your mask off, open your mouth. I'm going to spray this in your mouth and you're good. He doesn't tell him what it is. He refuses to answer that question. And then once he sprays everyone, he's like, okay, you're good. And he just walks away. We never hear from him again. We never see him again. All I could think about was like,
was in that fucking spray thing.
We had no idea what was in there. So by the end of the movie, my opinion is that spray was garbage. It was absolutely nothing. And it was just Edward Norton, again, his character trying to act like he's so smart. Oh, I cured cancer. And that was it. And it just fits the character. And it's just, and it literally made me go, why would Ethan Hawke do that? Like, where is Ethan Hawke right now? So
I thought he was going to show up by the end of the movie and be the real killer.
That's exactly what I did too. I was waiting for him to show up at the end and be like Edward Norton's accomplice or something.
I would have liked the movie better.
Again, though, see, you expected it to happen, and Rian Johnson, he goes against expectations, maybe to a fault sometimes, and it didn't happen. I know we just basically spoiled it for you, but if I'm being honest, Knives Out and Glass Onion, they are murder mysteries, but they're not the type of murder mysteries where you're meant to be trying to guess who the killer is. They flat out tell you, this is the killer, this is who's killed, and blah, blah, blah. You're more along for the ride while everyone else figures out what the motive was, how it was done, and so on and so forth. Absolutely worth watching. If you had to give it a rating out of 10, what would you give it?
It's an 8. It's a solid 8. The acting was really, really good, man. Like,
see, I loved it, so I'd give it a 9. I'd go closer to 9. I thought it was so good.
I think I just love Knives Out so much that like I had high expectations for this.
I will say Chris Evans in Knives Out, he basically kills that role. I mean, he really enjoyed not being Captain America for a movie finally,
Exactly.
I think my thing is I like this one so much because this is what I thought Murder on the Orient Express and Death of the Nile was going to be. And they kind of dropped the ball with the big ensemble cast and all that stuff. Whereas this one really, I think, hits it out of the park. And Knives Out also hits it out of the park, for sure.
Yeah.
Both movies available on Netflix, worth watching. If you like murder mysteries, if you want like kind of dark comedy, they're both really good, really, really good movies.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Now let's get to the man or the avatar of the hour, the Na'vi of the hour. We have Avatar 2, Avatar, The Way of Water. I got a little picture of a little kid avatar swimming in the fishies. So how do we start this? I mean, do we start with a rating and then just dissect from there, or do you want me to throw some questions out to you?
What was your overall thought? Let's do an overall thought on the movie.
My overall thought was basically that this movie hit all the same beats I expected it to, and I left the theater kind of going, yeah, that's what I thought. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there was no part of me that was, like, super impressed, but there was also no part of me that was super let down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, okay.
So, I will say this. I liked it better than the first Avatar.
Okay.
But I also hated the first Avatar movie because it was basically Fern Gully remade with blue cats. Yeah. So I did like this better. I thought it was a better story. It was a more like.
I will say it was a better story for sure. It didn't feel like it was just a rehash of 900 other movies we watched. Although there was a lot of aspects of other stuff in there.
There definitely is.
For those before we get into in detail, for those who haven't watched it, spoilers ahead. We're going deep into this movie, so just FYI. But the storyline, the plot here was very different than the trailers.
If you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing? James Cameron needs your money.
He needs your money. The movie did over $1 billion already, and he needs to do a lot more if he wants to be profitable.
Did it do over $1 billion? Is it up to $1 billion?
Globally, it's up to over $1 billion. It was over 1.03.
No
yeah,
no way. Yeah. I'm so mad he's going to hit his number.
After the first week, I want to say. Oh, no. It was faster than any other movie in 2022. It hit $1 billion. So
is he paying people to go see it?
Probably. Knowing him, he probably is. He's probably like, go see it. Here's tickets to go see more. But so the plot for this one, for anyone who hasn't seen it and who's kind of considering it, the trailers do not do it justice as far as what the movie's about. Okay. Basically, at the end of the first movie, we know that the Na'vi win their little battle with the Skyfolk, they call them. We see the Skyfolk leave. The beginning of this movie explains that years have passed. Jake and Neytiri are married. They're having kids. I think they adopt a few kids. All kinds of stuff happens. I'll leave that for the movie. The Skyfolk come back years later. They come back with new machines, kind of a bigger army, blah, blah, blah. So then there's a time jump. And you basically find out that for about 5 years, Jake has been leading his people, the Na'vi people, his tribe, in a battle against. Well, Ryan, if you haven't seen it yet, Ryan Gaboy says don't say they haven't seen it yet. We're deep diving it. We're going to spoil it for you. So either earmuffs or come back later.
Sorry, Ryan.
Yeah.
This is what we do here.
But anyway, so Jake's waging war against the Skyfolk, and they can't really handle having a Na'vi that actually knows the tactics they use leading the Na'vi against them. So what do the humans do? They basically, I guess, had this backup plan with Quaritch from the first movie. They download his brain essentially into his own avatar, fly him out with his whole Marine squad, and basically say to them, your job is go kill Jake Sully and his family. And that's the plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is not about the humans and all. It's literally about Quaritch going after the Sullys. That's the movie. And in order to save his family, Jake decides we're going to leave the Na'vi people that they lived with for however long, and they go to live with this water tribe, and then hence they have to learn the way of water and so on. Ryan, if we're so entertaining, then you better listen to what we're talking about, because we're about to shit all over Avatar 2. I'm telling you right now.
So here's my thing. I like the world building. I like seeing a different Na'vi tribe.
It's the one thing the movie has going for it is the world building, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, part of the thing about this is James Cameron should have just shut the fuck up.
Yes. Oh, yes. The whole time watching the movie, I kept thinking to myself, this guy is full of himself.
First of all, the entire time I was watching the movie, I'm going, how the fuck did this cost $2 billion?
Right.
Like the graphics and the CGI didn't look much better.
So that brings us to my first thought. This was the first thought I had walking out of the theater. Does it look good? Sure. Yes. Yeah. The answer is yes. Yeah. It looks good. All right. There's no denying it looks beautiful. The CG is great. Blah, 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 blah. The problem is when Avatar 1 came out, even if you didn't like the movie itself, there was like a specialness to the CGI and the 3D. That we didn't see anything at that level yet. We still didn't have a character that was full CG that looked like it was somebody in a costume. So there was that kind of the moments where you were like, oh man, that looks fucking amazing. Here, the whole thing looks great, but we have Thanos. We have countless Marvel movies. Excuse me. We have a million other just CG heavy movies that do it in a way where everything looks photoreal and looks like it's real people and aliens and whatever. So, that magic is gone. So right away, you're like, I agree with you. Like, why would this cost? There's no way it cost $2 billion to make. And if it did, that's a James Cameron problem. That's not an anyone else problem.
100%. Like, honesty, like the way he's been talking about this movie, I was expecting to be absolutely blown away.
Yes.
By the special effects and CGI, and I just wasn't.
There was not one moment that made me go like, okay, I kind of get it.
Not a single one. Like, and that's what bothered me the most is like. You spent the last 6 months talking about how you got to invent new technology, and it costs you $2 billion to create this movie, and you need to make your money.
What did they invent? I don't get it. What did they invent? Like nothing in this movie couldn't have been done.
The first one,
yeah, like
it didn't look any better than the first one. And again, it looks great. It looks phenomenal. Like it looks how you expect an Avatar movie to look, but there's nothing special about it to the point of like, wow, that just blew my mind. Like, why did this cost $2 billion?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's 9 hours long.
I totally,
you know what I mean? Like,
totally agree.
Yeah,
Totally
I just don't get it, man.
Like,
and the movie's too long.
I will say, as far speaking on the visuals, before we get into the length of the movie, because that's a whole other thing. Before we get into the length, speaking on the visuals, the one thing I'll give it credit for is the 3D is good, and the way I know it was good is that I saw it. Did you see it in 3D or no? All right, so I watched it in 3D, and there was at least 5 to 7 times, and I'm not exaggerating, where I thought somebody got up and maybe walked in front of the projector, or got up in a row in front of me and walked over, and I could see their head in front of the bottom of the screen maybe, and didn't realize that that was actually like maybe a fire speck or a bug or something like that. Like the 3D looked so good that I actually thought that people were walking in front of the screen and it wasn't a part of the screen. So I'll give it credit there. Okay. Did that make me feel like I was more immersed in the movie? No, if anything, it almost annoyed me. There was one scene in particular I'll never forget. It was towards the end of the movie. There's a bunch of fireballs and flames, everyone, whatever. There's ash and ember all over the place, and I literally was like, "Sit the fuck down!" And then it ended up being it was ash that came across the screen. But like, so that more just annoyed me than anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or took me out of the scene, I should say. But I will give it credit where credit's due. The 3D effects were good. But now the length. Let's get into the length, because the movie, for anyone who doesn't know, was 3 hours and 15 minutes long.
Yeah.
Which means with opening trailers and all that stuff, you're talking about a 3.5 hour sit down at a theater. Easy. And it's way too long. It's longer than the first one, which I don't understand. The first one was way too long to begin with. And this one is even longer, people. It's even
like the first
longer.
Ferngully's a solid 90 minutes, right? And they just retold that story. So how is it longer than Ferngully?
Man, I wish I could tell you, but again, all I kept thinking is like the hubris of James Cameron talking about, when people go see this twice and this and that. The movie is
I'm not seeing this twice in the movie theater.
The movie, I don't even know if I want to watch it again at home, unless somebody else wants to watch it and I just happen to be walking in the room. I'll do the dad thing where I walk in and stand on my hands on my hips and look at the screen, because like it's just too long to sit through and nothing really happens. Like I said before, to go on a little bit of a rant here, the whole storyline is the Sullys basically move to this way, the water tribe, and there's a whole scene where they have to convince the water tribe that they're worthy of staying there, and then at the end of that conversation the chief goes, okay, they're staying here, and I'm just like, all right, so what was the point of that whole conversation? That was dumb. And we see them basically go through the motions of learning how the water people live and swim and hold their breath on the water and blah blah blah. Okay, we saw all of that in the first one. We saw Jake literally learn the way of the Na'vi. I did not need to see it again. And all it makes me think of is what? The third one's going to be the way of snow, and we're just going to see him live in like an Eskimo, a Na'vi Eskimo. The way of the desert, yeah. And then all of a sudden now he's going to be a Na'vi, like a Tusken Raider. Like, I don't need to see these things. And like, and then there is a moment where, and it's late in the movie, where we learn of this new, I guess you call it a mineral, that the sky people are murdering the whales for their brain juices, essentially, and it stops aging, right? That's out of nowhere. They just bring this up out of nowhere. It's literally 2/3 of the way into the movie, and suddenly there's this new element or whatever you want to call it that's worth $80 million a jar.
But they've been hunting these whales for a while, apparently. Yeah,
for years. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, so I'm surprised they didn't call it Unobtainium 2, because everything's got to be a ripoff of the first movie. But it literally, when they explained that and they were like, Unobtainium is not important anymore, this is what people want, I was like, what?
Well, we had like a 20-minute scene of them explaining this, because they were hunting a whale, right? And they went through each and every step that you need to do to hunt this.
Every single step in painstaking detail.
In painstaking, and then you have to hit them with the spear, and then you have to hit them with this, and then you have to hit them with that, and reduce the underbelly, and then we extract one vial,
right? All that from one vial, and then they want to just let the thing sink. And even one character's like, we're just gonna leave all of the rest of it here, and they're like, yeah, we don't need it. I'm like, what? Like, it just is. And I get the whole point is, the corporate greed, and it's supposed to be like nature versus like machine, the corporations and whatever. But like, come on, dude. Like,
But now, all right. Now, speaking of corporate greed, right? So, in the first one, the unobtainium or whatever the hell it was called was worth trillions of dollars.
Trillions, yes.
Right? This guy holds up one vial and goes, "This vial right here, 80 million.
80 million.
I'm like, hold the fuck up. It cost you 200 million to get that vial. Because
Right.
you just had to bring out an entire like cavalcade of 20 different submarines that look like crabs for some reason, along with
crabs with hands. Because why do the crabs need to grab onto something and swing? Who knows? James Cameron. That's basically the answer. James
You know
Cameron.
what I mean? Like you can't tell me that your profit margin on that is that big.
No, it's absolutely atrocious. So here's my thing. So we mentioned before the world building is good. The world building was good. Okay, the best part of the world building is when he just shows the world. Once he starts trying to explain and honestly, it's the native American or the native part of it. So when we see like the Na'vi talking about how their connection with the sea creatures and the there's a tree in their world and Awa in their world, but it's underwater, of course, because clever. And but then the humans start talking and explaining why they do things, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Like, again, that whole scene was irrelevant because in the end, all this movie is about is Quaritch going after the Sullys. So learning about how they kill these whales and what they're killing them for is absolutely irrelevant. Scythe, you're absolutely right. Boo Avatar. It's I'm actually starting to dislike it more and more as we talk about it. I didn't hate it when I left the theater, but now I'm like, it just really is a waste of time.
I felt the same way. I watched it and I was like, you know what? It wasn't that bad. And then I started dissecting it in my head. And I'm like, wait a second, like 80 million for that one vial? It definitely cost like at least 120 to get that ship out to sea. Like, what are we talking about here?
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. No. And then on top of that, so like there's just a lot of kind of question marks that to me were clearly James Cameron thinking 4 movies ahead. But we've learned from DC, you can't do that. You need to focus on this movie, and then the rest of the movie should be kind of natural extensions. So one of the questions is, for everyone who actually cares about the first movie, Quaritch had a kid. I didn't know that he liked to even have sex in the first movie, but he has a kid now, and that kid was left behind for reasons unknown. They couldn't put him in a pod or something.
We didn't even know who he had a kid with.
Right, we have no idea who his mom is. He doesn't know who his dad is, but somehow he knows his dad is Quaritch. The kid was a newborn baby, so somebody told him that his dad was an evil bastard that wanted to kill everything.
Zoe Saldana is like, "I'll kill your son."
But how did they know that?
I have no idea.
They don't. There's not one line in the movie that explains how they know with this kid. All they say is, that some babies were too young to be put in pods, cryosleep, so they stuck on the planet. That's all they say. And then suddenly he knows who his dad is. Like,
I was confused about another thing. The oldest daughter. They're not the Sully's daughter. She's not the Sully's daughter.
No, Immaculate Conception. So she's the daughter. So Awa, and if you remember in the first movie, at the end of the first movie, Sigourney Weaver's character is killed in like the helicopter. Yes. So they try to basically put her body into a Na'vi body. And I guess they succeeded because there is a Na'vi body of her character in this movie. It looks like it's the Avatar from the first movie. But
he jumps on her. He calls her grandma.
Right. So that Avatar body had a baby with Awa the tree, which is the eldest daughter of the Sullys now because they adopted her. And she's like one with Awa and can like do things that Awa can do. I don't know. They don't explain it.
I thought that was Sigourney Weaver as the child.
What that is, Sigourney Weaver played the character.
She does. All right, so yes. I'm not losing my mind here.
You're hearing Sigourney Weaver's voice.
Yeah,
70-year-old Sigourney Weaver out of I guess a 14-year-old face that's blue with 4 fingers.
Unbelievably confused by the oldest daughter.
It's like they threw these things out there so this way they could, maybe explain it in a future movie.
You spent a half hour explaining to me how you hunt whales and you couldn't fucking give me that nugget.
That is the key. That is what bothered me. That's what I kind of found myself questioning while watching the movie. Like, I don't care about how you meticulously murder this innocent creature, but what is going on with the human kid that has to wear a mask? Now, if we remember in the first movie, Those masks
I
let you
see
breathe.
16 years old now.
But there's more to it, man. Those masks they wore that kid wears, Spider. In the first movie, it's very clear that those masks don't last forever. They only last for a few hours. He wears the mask for like days at a time. It seems like in this movie, and never takes it off. Plus, excuse me. Plus, we learn in this movie now that the masks act as you could breathe underwater, you could breathe outside of water. It filters out toxins from smoke.
I mean
like it's everything.
But that kind of makes sense in my mind. The breathing underwater thing at least does.
I don't know,
because it seals to your face. Like technically, they're breathing on a different planet. So
I guess
I'll buy that. Also, did they have to name the kid Spider? Because all I kept thinking of was Joe Pesci.
Spider, get me a water, Spider.
Spider. Every time they're like, "Is that Spider?" I'm like, oh, Spider's gonna get shot in the foot.
I just don't like. I mean, I don't hate the idea of. I don't hate the idea of a human kid kind of living among them and like fully being raised, I guess, with the Na'vi and like being able to kind of hold his own with them. It's an interesting idea, but again, it's a one character too many in this movie because then we gotta see the Sullys with their eldest son, who is I guess full blown. Somehow he's full blown Na'vi. And he's got the 3 fingers and everything, even though Jake is not full-blown Na'vi. He was a human that was transferred into a Na'vi body, so I guess, And
his other son has 5 fingers.
For whatever reason, his other son is half and half, is a hybrid. But if the first kid wasn't a hybrid, why would the second son be a hybrid? They don't explain that. And even the other kid, the youngest, because there's another fucking Na'vi kid, is also a hybrid.
The only kid, his name I remember was Tuke.
But why would he not be? Why would he not be full Na'vi or Avatar if the other kids are? Oh, I'm sorry. Why would she not be full blown if the other 2 kids are? It makes no sense. And again, they don't take any time to explain it.
I did enjoy seeing a different Na'vi tribe that was like kind of evolved around water, and the differences in them, like they have the bigger arms,
you could see, you could see the differences, which was cool.
Yeah, the bigger tails and stuff. Like I thought that was a cool thing to see, and I would like to see other tribes from other habitats and stuff like that. Like I would like to see a snow tribe or a desert tribe and see how they kind of like evolved to be around there.
Why couldn't we just get them though? Like, why did we have to bring the Sullys back? Why couldn't we just, like James Cameron wants to build this world out, perfectly fine. Way of Water should have been strictly about the water tribe. Just ignore the forest people for now.
Tribe stopping them from murdering their whales.
Yes, that's 100% what the story should have been. 2 hours, and you're done, and that's it. Like there was no reason for any other stuff.
And at the end, you bring in Sully.
Right? Maybe you show that like the Sky people are returning at the end of this movie. And they realize that someone has dealt with them before, and they go to the forest people, and there's Sully, and it's like, yo, we need your help. Sky people coming back, bitch. And like, that's it.
This didn't need to revolve around Sully and his family the entire time.
One thing I don't like, because with James Cameron and his like attention to detail and his kind of, big-headedness, thick-headedness, is there's a scene in the movie where basically all the Na'vi or the sea people are swimming underwater, and it's like a big battle at the end, like like every movie has to have, and the gunships are firing into the water, and the bullets are flying through and like cracking some of the sea ground and all that stuff. But like, we're long past the days where people don't realize that bullets don't act like that underwater.
Yeah.
So I was so annoyed. I thought that he was actually going to show it the right way, and it's like they can't shoot him.
I kind of like let that slide a little bit.
I don't. Not because it's James Cameron. If it was anyone else, fine.
Listen. I've been known to shoot a firearm myself, here and there, but they were very large caliber weapons.
But would they? Because I'm pretty sure it's been debunked that they would act that way. Maybe if you're right on the surface, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can see that. But they were deep. They're at the ocean bottom, and these things are still putting holes in like the coral and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, man, there's so many holes you could poke in this whole movie.
Wait, Scythe, I hope you're still watching, because I'm going to tell you the one thing that's going to officially make you go, yep, I'm never even turning on an Avatar anything ever again. So we know from the first movie, right, that there's this like connection with all the trees and the animals, and they basically have sex with all of them with their hair, and everyone just kind of comes inside everyone else.
The problem with the fucking Avatar movies is the first one.
Yeah. So there's no difference in this one, right? All the sea creatures have a spot where you can basically put your hair dick inside of it and connect with it. So, fine. Okay, listen, it's an alien planet. We learned about it in the first movie. Okay, I'm okay with it. What they never said in the first movie and what they never said in this movie, they just started doing, was the Na'vi people or the water people just started talking to the fish. And I'm not talking like making fish sounds, just speaking to the fish, and the fish would make fish sounds back, and then they would answer them back. Full conversations to the point. And this is when I full-blown said, okay, I think I'm done, is James Cameron put subtitles in between a conversation between a whale and one of Jake Sully's kids. He put subtitles in for the whale. The whale spoke back with subtitles. And I remember in the theater being like, wait, they can talk now? They can just have conversations? What are you doing?
Well, I don't know if you missed this. He couldn't have the conversation. The whales are so powerful.
Uh-huh.
They made an attempt to explain this to you.
No, they didn't.
But it was during the 30-minute how to kill a whale.
Oh yeah, they explain how smart the whales are, and they're way above our intelligence level.
Yeah,
okay.
And so when you attach to them, then that allows you to be able to speak.
Yeah, but he talked to that whale before putting his dick in it. I know
for
a fact.
But he didn't understand the whale back.
No, yes, he did.
He was only able to understand the whale after.
Oh, you might be right. After he put his dick inside the whale, then
after he put his hair dick into the whale,
then the subtitles
he was able
showed
to
up.
understand the whale.
It's almost like in like the movies where someone's speaking another language, and as you start to understand it, it just transforms to English. Like, it was just so stupid. It really was just so stupid.
It wasn't the greatest plot device ever, but
so dumb.
They did try and explain it. I can understand how you missed it because it was during the 30 minutes.
I probably fell asleep, and I never fall asleep.
Yeah, it was during the 30 minutes of first you have to attach the balloons to it and then turn it upside down so it reduces underbelly. Then hit a missile-guided explosive harpoon into it. By the way, an explosive harpoon is the dumbest thing ever because
it never exploded.
Explodes, it doesn't harpoon anymore.
Right, but it never exploded. The whole point of a harpoon is to connect and like hang on.
Yeah,
but it doesn't even. He calls it an explosive harpoon multiple times. It never once explodes.
Never explodes.
It never explodes. It goes under the water. It hits the thing in the stomach, and it just does what harpoons do. And I kept thinking, like, when are you gonna blow it up? Like, you didn't do anything yet. Like, just so bad. And then on top of that, so like the talking whale, right? The Free Willy, if you will, the Na'vi Willy, if you will.
Free Willy saved the day, baby.
Yeah, he saved the day, but like, it was just he was another character, like just another character in a movie of bloated with characters. I just don't understand. It was decisions like that made me go like, yo, what is this guy thinking?
No joke, legit. When that whale was underneath the ship and he saw the little boy strapped to the railing, I was like, they're not gonna.
Right.
No.
And then not only does he jump on top of the ship, though, he starts martial arts kicking all the people. He's hitting him with its fin. He's throwing him off the ship. I'm like, Jesus.
Like, there's no way they're going to make this whale be the savior of everybody.
That's what it was. That's what it was. He did it.
And he belly flops onto the ship and then just starts slapping people with fins.
Right.
It looked like John Wick.
Yeah, he was dodging the exploding harpoon. Like, the guy thought it had him blindsided. He just looked real quick and was just like, whoop, and it just went right by him. I'm like, what?
I did think it was badass though when he took out the main gunner ship.
Yeah, by wrapping the
by wrapping the cable around, and then the guy's arm got caught, and then you saw his arm just get severed.
I'm glad they showed it because I thought they were going to cut away. So, but like there's other things.
Badass little moment.
See if you can explain this plot hole to me because I just got frustrated with it. So we spend 45 minutes to an hour watching the Sullys learn how the way of water is the way of water, so to speak. They learn to breathe underwater. They learn to like swim faster, the whole nine. Then at the end of the movie, we're all supposed to be worried that they're going to drown. Even though if you missed what I just said, they learn to breathe underwater. And not one of them could do it.
It didn't seem that they learned to breathe underwater. They learned how to control their breathing to a point where they could spend a significant amount of time underwater.
So why didn't they do that? Instead, they were just panicked immediately. Like, I was like,
Well,
relax,
I will
calm
say
down.
this. I will say this. Remember, the wife, Zoe Saldana's character, she never learned anything.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe she
He
didn't
was like
learn.
refusing to learn any
Yeah.
of their ways. And Sully didn't really learn how to breathe underwater and stuff.
Talk about downgrading a character. She was so
Yeah,
amazing in the first movie, and then in this one, she's just an asshole and doesn't want to learn anything.
I did think she was kind of badass in this one though, with the
At the end, her one scene when they basically, but again, like, so then we watched the Spider or whatever his name is watching her just fuck people up, and he was looking at her in almost like fear, and I'm like, what are you scared of? She's saving your life right now. I don't understand what I guess that scene was supposed to be, that he's finally seeing her as like this feral creature, but then at the end he chooses to go back to them. So what's the point of that? That's something else I didn't get.
She literally cut him across the chest.
So that was, oh god, you just brought up another thing. So like, there's this whole scene where Quaritch has Jake's kid, and he's like, oh, you know, come over here, Jake, I'm gonna murder your kid. And Jake's like, no, don't do it. And then she grabs Spider and is like, a kid for a kid, basically. Cuts him across the chest, and then is about to stab him. She's about to fucking stab the shit out of him. And then Quaritch is like, whoa, okay, my bad. Because suddenly now he cares. But then at the end, they don't even
realize that that's his son.
But I'm saying, but at the end though, Spider doesn't say it, like, look at her like this, like, you're about to cut me, bitch. Like, there's not one reference to the fact that she was about to kill him.
It's even worse than that, bro, because here's the thing. Spider then realizes that Quaritch is his father. Right? So now they have this big reclamation moment where he realizes he's his father.
Well, he knew he was his father. He told him. He told him that he was his father. He said, I'm not that guy, but he showed him the file when they first caught Spider. Yeah. So he knew that he's meant to be his father, like, you know, the mind or whatever of his father. Right. But the whole time, like, they're kind of antagonistic towards each other, and then suddenly Spider's like, oh man, I can't let my dad drown. I'm like, wait, what?
That's the thing. Is like, so Quaritch makes the sacrifice because he's like, all right, fine, that's my son. I don't want you to kill my son. I let up, whatever, right? And the kid, in turn, is like, all right, well, he let me live. He saved me, so I got to save him now. So he swims underneath, saves Quaritch from drowning, and then Quaritch is like, come with me, son. We'll do this together. And he's like, I'm going to go back to the cat people that tried to stab me. Like,
right. To the woman who legit was going to murder me just because she was angry. Like,
and then he gets over there and like, Spider, we love you. And he's like, I love you guys too.
Yeah.
It was just like,
it was all over the place. The ending was all over the place, honestly. And like, I just, there's so much.
There was no reason to kill the kid either. I'm sorry. Like,
it was obvious. My thing is the moment, like, first of all, they kept going back on the ship. I'm like, you know, the place you don't want to be is on the ship that's sinking. Get off the ship. And they just keep getting on. And I understand, like, the brother is there and whatever, but like, it's not your job, dude. Get off the fucking ship. The moment they started using guns, immediately in my head, I said, okay, one of them is going to get shot. Most likely the oldest one, because the one that we've been following, who feels like a loner, you know, needs to step up and become the new, like, you know, old kid. Yeah. You know, and then like when Jake is like, I see you, son. I'm like, why? Because he saved your life? Yeah. Real convenient, you scum sucker. Like, the whole time he's been trying to help you out here. Like,
there is no more on point line in this entire movie. And when they get captured again, and Took goes, I can't believe I'm tied to the ship again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't believe it either, Took. I can't believe it either.
It's one of those lines where that's James Cameron thinking he's being cheeky and like kind of breaking the fourth wall, but all you're doing is confirming to all of us that this part's stupid. That's all you're doing. Like,
I've never connected more with a line in a movie ever than at that moment when she looks right in the camera. She goes, I can't believe I'm tied to the ship again. I'm like,
for reference, her brother and her sister get tied to the ship. They get rescued, and within minutes, not a long time, within minutes, her and her sister get caught again and handcuffed in basically the same exact spot. I mean, like, they're maybe a foot over. Like, just so ridiculous. Like, you know.
It was so stupid. I was like, why? First off, you didn't need all of you to go back on the ship to save Spider.
Right. You didn't.
Hey, like, get the little kid away, first off.
Right.
Right?
Do your job.
The little one, there's no reason.
Right.
Like, take her, get her out of here. Right? So
yeah, I don't know.
when she's in there shocked that she's handcuffed to this fucking railing again, and she's like, I can't believe I'm tied to this hang. I'm like, yeah, dude, I can't believe James Cameron did this to you.
But like, it doesn't make sense, right? Because it's like, get the little one away, right? Go get your parents and be like, all right, now as a team, let's go save the rest. Because you know that they don't want to kill the kid. You know they want to get your dad there. Like, everyone's aware of this at this point.
And,
so it's like,
not for nothing, but like the Water Tribe, like obviously loosely based on like ancient Maori tribes.
Yeah, you could see with the way they were sticking their tongues out, the different tattoos.
Yeah, at one point they're doing a haka, like, like. So all right, so there's this great warrior tribe,
and they ran away.
Do anything?
Well, did you notice that they basically, they're all fired up. We're gonna kill everybody. Then Jake leads the charge. They attack. The whale comes in, and then the water tribe is just gone. They just are nowhere to be found. It's the Sullys and the whale versus the rest of the humans, basically.
Yeah. You never see, like, at no point is Sully like, hey, we've got, like, once they save his daughter,
right? They're like, no, fuck you guys. You brought this shit to us. Fuck you.
Like, but they don't even say it. They don't even say that. They say nothing. You just don't see them again for the rest of the movie, which makes no sense because they're a warrior tribe.
And you know what the next horrible decision was? Was after all that, after what you just said, because I totally agree, then Jake gives this whole speech about how they are a part of the water people. This is their home now, and they will fight to protect it. And I thought was like, wait, so you just completely forgot now about the forest people? That you left to die, basically, because you're the only one who knows military tactics, and they don't have anybody like that anymore? So, like, you basically just left them? Natiri is okay with staying with the water people? Yeah, but he doesn't. We don't know. We don't know that he knows. Why would they explain anything to us, right? He doesn't know anything of what Jake knows.
But here's the other problem.
But wait, Natiri spends the whole movie being like, this is not our people. I want to go back home. And then Jake's like, well, this is kind of our people now. And she's like, all right, no problem.
No, he's like, Sully, stick together.
He's like, look, Natiri, just real quick, just put your hair dick inside this underwater plant, and you'll get it. You'll understand. Like, what?
No, but like, the warrior tribe. The other part of this that baffles me, absolutely baffles me, is that 20 minutes before that, we had an entire scene where they were like, they're hunting our whales. We're going to fucking kill them all.
Yeah.
And Jake's like, whoa, guys. Like, we don't want to take the fight to them. This, that, and the other thing. We're all going to die, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, all right. And then they finally get to the battle, and they're like, let's do it. They're killing our whales. They got our kids. Let's kill them all. Oh, and they go in and they're stabbing people with spears. Couple great action scenes. Then they just disappear off the face of the planet. But like a half hour before that, you were raring to go to kill everybody. Right. So why'd you leave at this point when you're winning the fight?
Yeah, it makes no sense. And the only good moment, the entire finale, in my opinion, the only good moment that I was like, that's pretty badass, was when Jake finally saves his remaining children because one of them dies. They're getting on the boat, and Quaritch is like, you're not leaving, are you, Jake? Because I'm going to be out here, and I'm going to be hunting you down, and I'm never going to stop. And it just Jake, for a split second, kind of like, is just deciding, like, do I go with my family, or am I going to like try and end this? And Quaritch says one more thing, and Jake just goes, all right, let's get it done then. And then just jumps at him and starts fighting. Like, that was pretty badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that was absolutely badass.
That was cool.
Well, listen, there's a couple of cool parts to the end battle scene. Like, there's a few cool scenes of them.
Natiri was a highlight. She fucking stole the show at the end.
With the bow and arrow and everything like that. She's a badass. You know what I'm saying? Like, the one scene of the warrior tribe actually like getting in, like was badass as hell.
With their dragonfly fish.
Yeah, like there was good parts to it. It's just as a whole set piece overall, it just like it was so disjointed. There was so much different. Like, then the whale, then the kids are tied up again.
Also, to your point, comes and goes. He shows up, he does his one thing, and then he's like, "All right, guys, I took care of the boat. See ya." And I'm like, "Wait, but your boy is still out there. Go fight him."
Yeah.
Like,
oh no, he stayed. He stuck around outside waiting to give him a ride back. Remember?
Oh yeah, you're right. That's right.
Yeah, he stuck around. He was waiting. He's like,
no, he's a real one. He's a real one, that whale.
I know they're all drowning in there, and there's nothing I can do because I'm a giant whale.
Let one out for the whale. He's a real one.
Salute to the whale.
It just baffles me, and you know, a lot of these decisions are made because he wants the third and fourth one to basically answer them. But like, am I gonna have to sit through 6 hours of movie for an answer as to why, you know, Spider decided to go back to Natiri? Like,
we never got an answer for. She plugs into the flower, has a seizure underwater, and
I forgot that even happened. That they make such a big deal about that, Jake. If she does that again, she's going to die, and then they forget that she does that.
It never pays off. Like at no point does she have to like risk plugging back into the flower to get information.
Which is
like,
what I thought was going to happen at the end. I thought that was going to happen, that she was going to start seizing again, but it was like she was going to become one with Awa and all of a sudden control the ocean and be like Moana. But instead, nothing happened. Instead, she basically pulls out the tangled, glowing hair and she just shows them away. Like, look, guys, the door is right there. If you just swim a little bit, you'll find it. It's right there. She's like, I know it's dark, but like, here, Ma, you can wear my little butterfly wings because it's going to help you. Like, come on.
I think, how many of these is he making? 6?
Probably. I think he's got 4 written down, like where he's got them scripted out and planned out and all that stuff. But I think he wants to do 6. He just didn't write 5 and 6 yet, I believe. So that means, though, that if he even makes the next ones, and he makes them in a timely manner, because he's basically the George R.R. Martin of the movie world. Like, the 5th and 6th one is going to take another 13 years.
For the technology to be invented to make these movies.
You know, they have to invent chewing gum that doesn't lose flavor in order for him to make the 6th movie. Avatar, the taste of bubble mint. Like, such a dick, dude. He's such a dick. He needs to make $4 billion so they can invent fucking, you know, smell this poop.
I just don't understand any of this. Oh,
it's nuts, though.
Right, so I've noticed something here.
What's that?
So Jake Sully was basically king of the air with the dragonflies the dragons that, you know, he mastered the toughest dragon,
right?
Was able to fly better than any of the other jungle cat.
You gotta real quick. You gotta stay. James Cameron's consistent, because at the end of that movie, that big bastard did his damage and then was like, "Oh, the fight's over. Okay, I'm gone. I'll see you later." You never saw from him again. He doesn't hunt anything else. We never have a like reference to him. It's just over. He's just gone. So
now his son, well, actually, really his daughter in this movie, masters the ocean.
Pretty much. She masters Awa.
Like, she masters Awa.
She basically just, you know, she's basically like
she's plugging into shit and she's controlling every fish in the ocean.
No, in this movie, she's the equivalent of, in the Tron Legacy movie, of Jeff Bridges, where she basically just touches the ground and suddenly things just work out because she's just that powerful. That's basically what happens in this movie.
Hear me out. This is a long stretch.
Okay.
What if James Cameron is backdooring us into an alien Avatar movie, like Avatar: The Last Airbender?
What are you telling me, that one of the Na'vi are gonna put their hair dicks inside of like a random egg, and it's gonna pop out a face hugger?
No, not alien. Like, because they're aliens. I'm not talking about Alien the movie. I'm like, they're aliens, right?
Right.
And this is actually the story of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, so we're gonna have a fire bender?
Yeah, like the next ones are gonna be about fire. And then
it's gonna be called Avatar: The Heat of Fire, and it's just gonna be like take place in a volcano
and one
around
of his
lava.
Other kids ends up being a fire lord.
It's not gonna be his kid.
He's gonna have an airbender.
You know what's gonna happen is he's gonna adopt a kid that was born between a forest person and a water person that has 6 fingers and is now a demon, and he's gonna adopt that kid.
He called this fucking thing Avatar. Like, honestly,
and that kid's gonna have to wear a mask to be able to breathe oxygen and Pandora air, and then also fire air, and he's gonna breathe fire and shit fire out of his ass. Is that what you're telling me? I don't even want to entertain more Avatar movie.
It's the only thing that makes any fucking sense to me at this point. Because, like,
maybe
he's got to.
Right. We have earth bending, we have water bending, and we need fire bending and air bending. That's what we need.
Yeah. Because, like, right now, okay, so there's 2 other ones planned.
Right.
Right now, ready to go, right? As soon as the technology gets there. But where does he go from here?
Apparently,
Like-
Quaritch is such a great villain that clearly they're gonna try and make him a good guy. So I feel like in the fourth movie, like the next movie, we're gonna see Quaritch basically learning how to live with the forest people, and somehow they're gonna accept him. And then in the fifth movie, he's gonna join the Sullys and have to prove himself worthy to basically hairbang Natiri, and he's just gonna be a friend of the family at that point.
And fight who though? Then who's the villain?
I don't fucking know.
More sky people.
Giovanni Ribisi is gonna come back from Earth, but he's gonna have he was in it briefly, but in a flashback. But he'll come back in this one and have like a mech body that turns him into fucking like a Hulkbuster armor. Yeah, I mean James Cameron's just gonna steal from every movie he can think of. So he's gonna put a Hulkbuster in there. Josh Brolin's gonna play Thanos, but a blue version.
He already put the alien mech suits that Sigourney Weaver wore in Aliens.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody was rocking one of those now.
I love that when we first meet Edie Falco's character, because she's in the movie too for some reason. She's got a mech suit on and she's punching and kicking that bag and just badass. And then she just disappears, and we just never. Why give us anything with her at that point? Like instead they cut to the guy who wants to shoot harpoons that explode and suck whale brain.
But speaking of her with the mech suit, I love that after she's done doing the workout, she's sitting there enjoying a cup of coffee, and the mech suit has the coffee.
She can't even take the mech suit off.
She's sitting there holding nothing and just being like
that's clearly James Cameron going, it would be cool if you just drank coffee with the mech suit on. And everyone around him just being yes men and being like, yeah, boss, that's amazing. Let's spend the billions of dollars to do the CG for that one scene.
Like, you know what happened was they were like, boss, this is going to cost like $200,000 for us to just have her drinking coffee. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it.
I got it. I just figured it out. That's what they needed. That's the technology.
Going to make $4 billion.
That's the technology they needed to improve on. He couldn't make this movie until they built a mocap suit that would realistically look like she was using a mech suit to drink coffee. Boom.
Yeah.
That's why he needs to make $4 billion. He's going to have a whole movie called Avatar, The Box of Joe, and it's just going to be a bunch of them just drinking coffee.
Oh my God, man.
So anyway, I didn't like the movie that much. If that's what we're if that's what we're trying to talk about here.
I go back to my original statement. He should have just shut the fuck up. Like, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's true, though, because if he didn't just talk so much shit like he was doing, I feel like I wouldn't have gone in with the intent of, like, hating on the movie. But not only did you talk so much, but the movie comes out, and the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, nothing about this is that impressive.
That's my point, right? Yeah. Like, I didn't go in there wanting to hate the movie, in all honesty. I know we're ragging on it a lot here, but
it's fun to rag on it.
It's fun to rag on it, and also, like, there is some blaring plot holes in the whole fucking movie. But I really went into it, like, with this dude's voice in my head being like, this is the most amazing movie ever made. It cost $2 billion. This, that, and the other thing. You're going to want to see this movie 19 times in the theaters, and blah, 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 blah. And I watched it, and I was like, what movie was he fucking talking about?
If anybody goes to see this movie more than once, that person needs to be put down, because clearly there's mental problems, and they're going to cause issues for our nation at some point in the future.
The only person seeing this more than once in the theaters is James Cameron.
And for free, though. He's not going to pay for it, because even for his own movie, he's going to be like, I can't pay to sit through this. Like, get the fuck out of here. I thought at one point the ship was going to start breaking apart like the Titanic, and I was like, okay, you just stole for your own movie. The fuck?
I thought it was going to tilt up.
I thought it was too. I swear to God, I thought it was too. It just seemed like that's where it was going. Like,
I so thought that. Oh, you're doing.
But to your point,
if he does the Titanic shot right now, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, and to your point before, he continues. Like, there was a lot of things in the movie that were cool looking or interesting looking, but just for the sake of being interesting looking. For example, the crab looking pods or underwater submarines, or because like what I don't understand is that there were regular looking manned subs for one person that looked like you would think they would look, but then there were also these crab ones, and the crab ones didn't do anything different besides they had hands. Like, what was the point of them? They didn't show them useful in any way whatsoever. So, and in fact, they're even not useful because they were chasing people swimming and they couldn't catch him.
Couldn't catch him.
They couldn't catch him. So like, all you did was show us how dumb a crab submarine would be. Like, I don't know. I just don't know.
I swear to God, I'm gonna strain something. I've been laughing so hard throughout this whole fucking podcast.
Hey man, it'll be some good clips for TikTok. I'm telling you right now.
My God,
but anyway, so rate it 1 out of 10. What would you give the movie?
Like a 7, 8.
That's high for me. I want to honestly, based off of graphics alone and CG, I give it like a 6. But maybe I'll give it a 7 because there are some cool moments. But I can't go higher than a 7 because I really don't want to convince anybody to go see this movie in theaters. Yeah. Wait till it comes out on Disney Plus. There's no benefit. That's my thing too. I felt like this movie, it at least would be worth seeing on a big screen with the surround sound. But if you have it at home, you don't need to go see it in theaters.
I'll be honest with you. I did think it does benefit to see it on the big screen with
maybe IMAX. Sound. I could see it being like that for IMAX.
So I saw IMAX. I didn't see 3D, but I saw IMAX, and it was pretty impressive, the scope of it on IMAX. But again, like, listen, the CGI and the visuals of it are amazing. Like they're just as good as the first one. Yeah,
they're good. I mean, they're as good as the first one. Yes, that's the right way to say it.
The story was actually an original story, so I can't hate on them for that, even though it's filled with plot holes and it's all over the fucking place. But I mean, I was more entertained than I thought I was going to be.
Yeah.
Considering how much I disliked the first one. So I think that's why I went so high with my grade on it.
Okay. That makes sense.
But, if the first one to me is like a 6.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
And this was better. So I got to give it a.
That's why I would give this one a 7 because I feel like visually it's the same as the first one, and the story, while nothing fantastic, was definitely better than the first. I found myself more interested in what was happening. You know what I mean? Even though I could easily pick apart plot hole after plot hole after plot hole, I was actively looking for it. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But all right, so that's Avatar: Way of Water. I'm sure, honestly, we'll think of some more shit. And truthfully, Zuplex, you and I should probably jump on to make a few TikToks about other thoughts we might have about this. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on Avatar: Way of Water. Let us know what you think in the comments as you guys watch this, and if you haven't already, like and subscribe, please, on our podcasts, all our YouTube content. We're posting, I wouldn't say daily, but very often these days. We have content across the board, from comic books to gaming to movies, to TV shows, to wrestling. We're trying to add sports. We have a trivia contest going on. We're working on putting a FIFA 2022 tournament together. I just finished God of War Ragnarok. If you haven't checked it out on Twitch or YouTube, you can check out the gameplay there. And then I'm going to move into something else. Zuplex is playing High on Life. And we have and we just got a lot going on. So thank you guys so much for jumping in. Episode 69 of the Theater Room. We'll see you guys next Tuesday at 8:30 live for episode 70. The replay will come out on YouTube a day or two later. You can also hear us on all the podcasting platforms. So, if you're interested in what we have to say, there's easy to find us. So we'll see you guys next week. We'll see you guys on episode 70. I'm going to call it Avatar: The Way of Podcast.